Good morning, everybody. Today's math concept is adding and subtracting mixed numbers. When we are adding and subtracting mixed numbers, there's a couple of different ways to do it, but there's one surefire way to always get the correct answer. So I'm going to suggest we'd use the same format all the time. That format is 1. Change the mixed number to an improper fraction. 2. Find our common denominator. 3. Do the math, whether we're adding or subtracting, and we get our answer. And finally, if we need to, we change our answer from an improper fraction back to a mixed number. So let's take a look at a couple examples. I'm going to do an example of addition first, and then I'll do an example of subtraction. This is where all of those concepts we've been learning come into play. We have our mixed number to improper fraction to mixed number, using that lowest common multiple to find the common denominator, and our adding and subtracting. So we're starting to take all those little concepts that we've learned in little bits and pieces and put it together into one concept. So for example, if I have the question 2 6/7 plus 1 4/5, what I would like us all to do, like I said, step 1, change both of your mixed numbers to improper fractions. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 6 is 20 over 7. If you need a reminder on how to change the mixed number to an improper fraction, go back to last week's video and take a look. Again, big times bottom plus top. 1 times 5 is 5, plus 4 is 9 over 5. Now I look to see if I can add my fractions. Well, as always, the first thing I look at is to see if I have a common denominator. And I don't. So I'm going to use that lowest common multiple to find my common denominator. So I'm going to do the multiples of 7, which are 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. Multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. 35 is my lowest common multiple. So that's going to be the common denominator I'm going to use. So I'm going to change this. 7 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gave me 35. And remember from our previous lesson, whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. 20 times 5 plus 5 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gave me 35. So 9 times 5 is my new numerator. 20 times 5 is 100 over 35, plus 9 times 5 is 45 over 35. Denominators are common, so I can add the numerators. Remember, when we add fractions, we never ever change that denominator. I'm going to write that down right away. 100 plus 45 is 145. Now the last step, if everybody gets to this step, I'm super happy, great. The next step, kind of getting us a little bit further, is if we can change this answer into an improper fraction. Well, how many groups of 35 do I have in 145? Well, 35 plus 35 plus 35 plus 35 gives me 140 over 35. So I'm only 5 away from my answer. So my mixed number becomes 1, 2, 3, 4 wholes. I take 140 away from 145, I get 5, and I leave my denominator alone. So quite a few things happening. Question: change our mixed number to an improper fraction. Big times bottom plus top. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 6 is 20. Leave that denominator alone. 1 times 5 is 5, plus 4 is 9. Leave that denominator alone. Now I need to find my common denominator. I did the multiples of 7 and the multiples of 5, and I found that the lowest common multiple of 7 and 5 is 35. So 7 times 5 was 35, so I have to do 20 times 5. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 5 times 7 was 35, so 9, oh, look, Mrs. Spherical found a mistake. I was supposed to multiply by 7 here. See how easy it is to get mixed up? So now, the rest of this has to be fixed up. So I hope everybody sees the mistake I made here. I had made the mistake of putting a 5 at the top instead of 7. So 7 times 5 is 35. 9 times 7 is 63, which leaves me 163 over 35. Now I have to put that into the mixed number. Well, 35, we know 35 times 4 was 140. And if I add another 35 in, that gives me 175. So that's too much. So my large number of 4 is still going to work. I'm still going to subtract 140, which is going to give me 23 remainders with the 35 and this large number of 4. Glad I caught that mistake. Thought about restarting this video to eliminate the mistake, but you know what? Mistakes happen. I'm glad I caught it and that you guys could see where that error came in, because it was a really simple one to make. So now that we've had that little oops, we're going to try another adding, just in case I confused anybody. Mrs. Spherical really can't wait until her bigger whiteboard gets here. So let's try 1 5/6 plus 7/8. Change this to a mixed number. 1 times 6 is 6, plus 5 is 11 over 6, plus 7/8. 7/8 isn't a mixed number. I just write the fraction down. Now I notice that I don't have common denominators, so I have to find my lowest common multiple of 6 and 8, which is 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 8, 16, 24, 32. I have a lowest common multiple of 24. So let's see if I can not make that same mistake again. Getting ahead of myself here. So 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4 was 24. I'm going to put times 4 up here right away so I don't make the same mistake. 11 times 4 will give me my new numerator. Plus 8 times 1, 2, 3 gave me 24, so I need to do 7 times 3. This becomes 44 over 24 plus 21 over 24, which gives me a total of 65 over 24. How many groups of 24? Well, 24 over 24 and 24 over 24 gives me 48. I know because if I estimate that this was 25, then another one's going to take me to 75, so that's too much. So I'm going to have a large 2. I subtract 48 over here, and 48, 58, 2 more gives me 60, and then I need to get to 65. So I have 48 plus 10 is 58, plus 2 is 12 to 60, so I'm going to end up with 17 24ths left over. You can easily do that with your calculator instead of doing the mental math like I did. I just didn't have a calculator handy. So that's adding mixed numbers. Let's try an example of subtracting mixed numbers. So I have 2 4/5, subtract 1 7/8. Again, exact same process. Thank goodness. It makes our life so much easier. Big times bottom plus top. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 4 is 14 over 5. Subtract 1 times 8 is 8, plus 7 is 15 over 8. Find my lowest common multiple. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. I went a little farther because I knew what this lowest common multiple is going to be, so I kind of cheated a bit. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. 40 is my lowest common multiple. 5 times 8 was 40. Times 8 up top, so we have 14. Subtract 8 times 5 was 40, so 15 times 5. 8 times 14, well, 8 times 10 is 80, and 8 times 4 is 32, so that gives me 112 over 40. Subtract 15 times 5 is 75 over 40. And now I can do my simple subtraction. 112 subtract 75 gives me 37 over 40. Don't have to go through the process of changing my answer from an improper fraction back to a mixed number because this fraction is already proper. So today's work is just adding and subtracting fractions, but instead of using regular fractions where the numerator is smaller than the denominator, we're going to be using mixed numbers, which makes our numerator larger than our denominator. Hope everybody has a good day. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or try the Google Hangout. We can always type answers back and forth, or we can open the Google Doc and look at it together. See you tomorrow.